Mr. Turnan, if you'll begin with the first question, please name the three most important challenges facing the state of Texas.
I think the number one challenge is education. We've got to find a way to fund our schools and make them what we need them to be for the 21st century, and that includes both public and higher education. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Number two, I think we need to get health care costs under control. They're becoming a bigger and bigger part of the state budget, and they're essentially crowding out everything else. And then third, I think our water crisis is probably growing out of control as well. We need to find a way to meet our water needs both now and for the decades to come. On each of those issues, I'm sure we'll talk about education, so I want to talk about water. I'm a big fan of desalinization, in particular solar desalinization. You're seeing these plants being built around the world, but we're not doing them here in Texas. We actually used to be leaders in desalinization. El Paso has a groundwater desalinization plant, and we haven't built any of those recently, and I think we should look to solutions through technology rather than simply digging holes in the ground and praying for rain.
Thank you. Mr. Akers?
Well, I think that the three challenges, as I see it, are all connected, and they're really all either a joined at the hip, so to speak, with the budget, which I believe is the number one issue. I think that for too long, the state, has allowed the legislature to use gimmicks in the process for balancing the budget, pass forward, etc. Connected immediately next to that is either transportation or education, because they use both. A lot of what you wouldn't call basic accounting, sound accounting principles, and as a businessman, I think that they would be unreasonable if I used or practiced those in my business. The education fund needs to be protected, and also we need to use all of our gas taxes on transportation.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burns?
I'm going to see if this works better. Yes. Okay. Our three most important challenges are balancing the budget, which I think once we do, solves a lot of the other problems. We've got numbers 2 through 15, but I propose another austere budget. I think with an improving economy, we can start to get out of the deficit and start to do some of the things we need to do, want to do, like number 2, education funding reform and improving the public school systems. They're good, as we know in this area. They could be better around the state. As the state representative, I don't want to just help Plano, Richardson, Allen. I want to help all children around the state. And then number 3 is the water supply. We've gone through 3 droughts at least since the first water plan was put in place in 1997. That's 15 years ago, and we've done nothing. No new lakes, no new water supply, but 5 million more people. That needs to be addressed. It can't be kicked down the road any longer.
Thank you. Mr. Cole?
I think the top 3 most important issues are all the budget, but it's the budget, it's water, and it's education. And sustainability is going to be the key factor here. Any of you that run a business, run your own family budgets, understand that predictability is one of the most key assets you can have to success, especially over the long term. But in Texas, the way we're funding our systems right now is not predictable. We're coming back to the coffers every session because we've used accounting gimmicks or we've funded programs that have grown out of proportion. We need to refocus our priorities, get back to the basics, fund a water plan, fund education, not rob education, and get back to what the state is supposed to do.
Thank you. Mr. Leach?
Late Governor Dolph Briscoe, he entered the legislature right after World War II in the early 1950s, and he was asked after he retired from the legislature what the 3 most important issues he dealt with were, and he said transportation, education, and water. Those were the 3 issues, and we're facing those 3 major issues again today, and all of those things are directly related to the budget. If you look at the state constitution, you realize that there's 5 core competencies of the state government: health and human services, basically Medicaid; transportation, the justice system, natural resources, which is water, and then education. And all of those things are directly related to the budget. And I believe that we need to make sure we're providing for and performing those things efficiently and effectively without raising taxes and without increasing the size and scope of government. And I think we can and should do that.
Thank you. And it's Dr. Pitchford?
Either way is fine.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Everything relates back to the budget. If we can't fix the budget, then we're not going to fix anything at all. One of the things that's happened to education is we made tremendous cuts to education because we couldn't balance the budget. Things have declined. Our economy has declined. Texas has fared better than most states. So we have to give credit to the people that have come before us in management of our state government. So education is the number one thing. Hello. I hate it when mine goes off. I've made sure it's off this time. So anyway, we have to do something about balancing the budget. We need to restore funds to public education. Everyone's going to tell you the same thing about water, transportation. We need to stop diverting taxes from one fund to another. We need to stop bad habit taxation. We spent entirely too much money, time and money, trying to balance our budget with things that we shouldn't be taxing at all.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor.
I would say that one of the things we need to prioritize is the greatest threat to Texas in our budget right now, which is Obamacare. And you might ask, well, what does Obamacare, is it supposed to reduce the cost of health care, have to do with the education of my child here in Plano? And the answer is that Obamacare is going to require the state of Texas to come out of pocket billions of dollars a year, every year for the next 10 years as it increases the Medicaid eligibility. And right now, the state of Texas does not have the funding mechanism to pay for Obamacare. So it puts a big requirement on the states. That's a huge challenge for us as a state. The only place to go get that kind of money, billions and billions of dollars, is in the public education system. So one way or another, Obamacare is going to cost our children either through higher taxes or through a lower educational standard. The second thing I would say is a great challenge is keeping the Texas model. Texas has one of the lowest, if not the lowest, depending on who you look at, cost per capita in terms of state government. And as a result, great companies like Hewlett-Packard and EDS and Pro Systems are here. Third thing is balancing the budget.
Thank you. Mr. Kless.
Three things. Feds in our classroom, feds in our healthcare, feds in our state house. That would be the three most important things facing Texas government today. And I feel for Mr. Taylor, who had to serve under this, most of the state expenditures, or I shouldn't say most, a proportion of them are mandated by the federal programs. We have to go down and we have to tell the feds, stay out of our state. And the Republicans won't do it, the Democrats won't do it. It's time we talked about libertarians going down and doing it. If I could just give two other things that are side notes. One, we have too many laws. If elected, I will look to reduce the number of laws in the state of Texas by about 25%. I'll find a way to reduce them. We have way too many regulations on business. We need to shrink the size of government. And that's the third one, the size of government. We're looking at this the wrong way, folks. It's always figured, how are we going to fund this? No, the question is, how does government live within its means? We should pass a constitutional amendment that says you must live on 10% of whatever the GDP of the state of Texas is.
Thank you, sir.